coaching from the perspective of the student. I think it's really hard for students because when you first start out, you kind of just go to whoever's local. Sometimes if you've been training for a while, you're like, oh, I'm going to go here because maybe it's more competitive. And then you stay there for a while and you kind of feel, I don't know, a commitment, an obligation to stay there. And in some cases, that works out perfectly fine. But then sometimes there are times in your training where maybe you need to go, or you should, for your benefit or the dog's benefit and growth, maybe go somewhere else or just get additional information from other trainers. And sometimes people are hesitant or reluctant to do that. And I can see how that's hard for people, especially people that, are social, they develop friends, they like kind of being part of a group. But I always tell my students your first obligation is always to your dog.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're getting what's best for you and your dog where you are, then by all means, you should absolutely stay there and you should feel super, super fortunate that you're in that situation. But sometimes things change. I remember I was going to a school for a while and I was learning a lot and it was really helpful and it set a really strong foundation. And then at some point, based on experience I had with my prior dog, I wanted to train some things differently with the young dog I was training at the time. And so I said, well, I'd like to teach my dog a different way. And I was told, well, fine, go ahead and do that. But if it doesn't work out, we're not helping you. That's not how we do it. We do it this other way. And that's the only way we teach it. And I had that situation in agility as well, where I had said, I don't want to teach, I would like to teach running contacts. And the instructor was like, well, I only know how to teach stopped. And I said, well, that's okay. Like, I don't really care if it's perfect. Let's just experiment. Let's see if we can figure it out. And she did not want to do that. And I was like, look, it's my dog. I take full responsibility. If we can't figure it out, or if we quote unquote mess it up, I can teach a stop contact in a couple weeks. Like, but I want to try and teach her running. And she wasn't willing to step outside her comfort zone to do that with me.
Mm-hmm.
So in her case, I just went somewhere else because I'm like, I felt strongly that I wanted to do a running contact for my dog's physical health, right? Like, I just felt it was safer. So that's why I wanted to do it. And that was really important to me. Um, I think the instructor felt, like I said, like she felt outside her comfort zone and she wasn't willing to take a chance, which is fine. I respect that, except that I think she was, well, no, I know she was pretty upset with me, for making that decision. And that I don't think is fair because
No.
was clear. I'm like, I totally respect you. I respect the way you teach. And I think that you and I could figure this out. This was back in the day before, running contacts are now super common, but back before they were. And I was like, I have faith we can do this, right? So I didn't feel like, I thought that was a pretty fair ask. And then when she wasn't willing to do it, I was like, okay, look, no hard feelings, but I'm going to go somewhere where they're going to do
Help
this
you.
with me. And then I also felt certain things, like, for example, so Zayden was my agility dog at the time. All he wanted to do was keep running. That's all he wanted to do, right? So when I stopped him on a contact and he hit it correctly, I was always told, go in and feed him. Well, that frustrated the living shit out of him because he had to wait for me to get my butt all the way over to him and stick a cookie in his mouth. Now he ate it, he's a lab. But did he really want it? No. He just wanted to keep going. So
Right.
probably the most powerful reinforcer for him would have been for me to just say yes and continue on.
Mm-hmm.
So again, now I don't, I went through a couple of agility trainers, I'm not going to lie, because like here was another example. I'd say, look, like I don't think he wants me to give him a cookie. I really don't. I'm like, I think I should just release him. And they were like, no, you have to reinforce him with the cookie or it'll get weak. And I'm like, yeah, I don't know. Like, I really think he
Mm-hmm.
just wants to keep going. And I'd like to try it. And then if my contacts fall apart, I'm okay with it. It's my responsibility. Like, I'm making the decision. And again, the instructor did not want me to do that. So at the end of the day, when I walk away and I'm by myself and I think about it, I have to say, well, A, I really know my dogs well, like inside out, backwards, forwards. Like my dogs are really good communicators. And if I really believe that this would be like, I felt like walking in and feeding him was acting as a punisher,
Mm-hmm.
not as a reinforcement. And if I want to try that and take responsibility for that, I should. So I think a good coach should be flexible and should be like, yeah, okay. Like if a student asked me to do something like that, and even if deep down I was really confident it wasn't going to work, but the student's like, I really want to try that, I would say, you know what? Let's try it.
Mm-hmm.
Who knows? Maybe
Yep.
it'll work. And if it doesn't, that's okay. We'll fix it.
Right. I
You know?
agree. Yeah, that's one of the things that I always fall back on as an instructor, and what I really like to see in somebody who's helping me is at the end of the day, like you said, like you live with this dog, you know this dog, especially somebody who's relatively new coming to me, and we're talking about options of things that we want to try X, Y, and Z. And I always do try to look at them and say, look, you know your dog best. If you truly feel like that's something that you feel is definitely going to be worth a shot to try, by all means let's try it. I think that's a super important quality in a coach for sure, like you had just mentioned an example with Zayden. Was it Zayden?
Yeah. Hmm.
Yeah, because at the end of the day, like I'm one for always going with my gut. Like I go with my gut. Like this, like if I feel like something's not, like I really don't feel like that's gonna work with my own dogs, I'm usually most likely right about that. And I really then try to also be respectful and listen to my students when they're like, I really feel that this is the way to try this. I'm gonna absolutely 100% go, well, let's give it a shot, because at the end of the day, if it doesn't work, we'll try something else.
Yeah, and I don't want my students to be followers, like blindly follow me. Like I don't want to be a cult leader, right?
Right.
I want to empower you to become a trainer,
Yep.
right? So, like I had a student a long time ago, like I said, this is how I teach go outs. He wanted to have his dog run to like a perch. And I said, well, that's okay. Sometimes they lose desire. They're not as motivated to run the perch. He's like, but I that's really what I want to do. I said, okay, let's do it. No problem. Right. So
Mm-hmm.
we did it. And after some time, he came back to me. He said, you know what? I don't think it's working. I said, all right, well, we tried. No big deal. I'm not going to go, see, I told you so. No,
Right.
I want him to feel like if you give me an idea and say you want to try it, that I'm going to honor that and we're going to try it. Right?
Yeah.
I know how to fix it. I knew that if it didn't work out, we could fix it. And we did. It was no
Right.
big deal.
Right. And there's
Right?
backup plans, you got other
Yeah.
methods. Yeah. And that's the thing. Like I want my students too. Like I want them to become the self the self learners, you know what I mean? Like, I don't want to have there is no instruction manual. As much as we have information and experience to help them and guide them, at the end of the day, dog training is, a lot of it is trial and
It
error,
is.
along
Yeah.
with whatever methods that you do have in your history that have worked with the majority of your dogs. Not all of them work, as we all know. So I think that's a huge important aspect of what you really want your students to be able to become, are self learners, for sure.
And I want them to feel empowered to like learn to read their dogs and to explain, like if someone says to me, that's really going to make my dog uncomfortable, then I'm like, then we're not going to do it. We're going to do something else. Like I don't even question, I don't even
Mm-hmm.
second guess. I'm not like, well, are you sure? Even if, like, who knows, maybe they're not correct, but whatever. We don't need to do it. We have 10 other things we can try,
Right.
right? And yes, sometimes if I've worked with a student long enough, I'll be like, yeah, like if a student's like, see, my dog's nervous, I may be like, I don't really think so. Like, here's why. And
Mm-hmm.
I'll explain it or I'll show you on video. And then often they'll come back to me after a couple days and go, I think you're right. I think I'm imposing my old dog's behaviors on this dog. But I'm
Mm-hmm.
never going to out of the gate go, yeah, I don't know. I'm not sure that's right. Right. I'm going to trust you and I'm going to believe what you're telling me and we're going to work with that. We're going to, do our best and we'll see what happens. And I think that's really important because a lot of people come to me and they're like initially super insecure, right? And they're constantly beating themselves up and they're like, well, I don't know. I'm like, don't do that. Like
Yeah.
trust
Yeah.
yourself.
Right.
Trust yourself, trust your dog. Just keep working at it. You'll get better. You'll figure it out.
Yeah,
But
and that's a big thing, because I think there is that definite insecurity factor there with all, even somebody who is experienced and just decides to try somebody else. um I kind of saw that a little bit at this last event I was at, with a seminar presenter, some experienced people, like they definitely, and I knew who they were, so I knew how they acted and how they trained, and there was, some insecurity there because it was a new person. So I see how that could be a thing, especially for a new person coming to try a lesson with somebody new. There's self-doubt, but and I, what I like to be able to do for people who come to me who are new and have those insecurities is that I'm just wanting to empower them and build their confidence. As like you said, I want them to become a dog trainer. I want them to start seeing the things that I'm seeing. I want them to come to me and be like, yeah, I tried this and this is what happened and this is what I saw. So I did this instead. And I'm like, yes, good
right,
girl. Even if it didn't work, like, way to
doesn't matter.
go.
Yeah.
Way to try it. So
Yeah,
important.
and I mean, I think people come in and they're like, well, that person knows better than me because that person's so much more experienced than me. So
Mm.
even if in my gut I'm like uncomfortable or I'm not sure or I'm like, I don't know if this is the best for my dog, they'll do what that person says because they have this thing in their head where, like, well, that person must know better.
Yeah.
Therefore, I should do what they say. But what you said at the beginning, and that's how I am, is like I've always been like that in life, is when all else fails, I follow my gut. If I'm
Yep.
not sure about something, I stop thinking about it. I go for a run, I go for a hike, I just let it simmer, and all of a sudden the answer comes to me, and I never doubt that answer. And if the answer says to me, like, yeah, that's not the best option for my dog, I'm going to listen to that, even if it puts me, and I've been in some tremendously contentious, tremendously uncomfortable situations because I felt like I needed to advocate for my dog. And I was like, no, my dog is trying. I'm not going to tell my dog it's wrong. Or no, I'm not going to do it that way. Or I really want to try this other thing. Um, Even if it's going to potentially be a problem. And
Mhm.
I know that's really hard for people. But again, when students come to me with these dilemmas, maybe, and sometimes too, it's a matter of that's the only instructor in their entire like 3 hour radius, right? But I'll say to them at the end of the day, your dog comes first, and you have to decide what you're comfortable with, what's best for your dog, and make the decision based on that. The
Yeah.
next thing now is, like you said, we've said this many times in other podcasts, we have so many options now because of online. And
Yeah.
people still are really hesitant about the online a lot. And I'm not just saying this because I do it, but I'm telling you, my students, it's because they're videotaping and then they
Right.
have to review it. Like, actually, I'm doing like a private consult with someone, and she just sent me an email today where she's like, I've never videoed myself this much, like ever. She's like, and oh my God, I'm getting so much really good information myself just from watching the video. And she had critiqued some of the things in there on her own, and she was spot on. And I was like, yep, that's
Yep.
absolutely what I would have said. And again, I think it comes from people's insecurity. Like, they don't want to be videotaped. They're embarrassed. They don't want to look at themselves because, like, oh, I don't want to see. Or maybe they don't even think they have the skill set to look at the video and know what they're looking at. But again, I think it's people have to just step outside their comfort zones.
Yeah, and I think a lot of that is just that insecurity of exposing their flaws, you know?
Mm,
That's kind of like in life even, you know, nobody wants to show their flaws to anybody, but when it comes to dog training and then going to somebody who is, you know, X, Y, and Z more experienced because of this, you know, it is definitely going to cause some insecurity like that. Um so that is absolutely a thing. And in fact, I there are some other online options out there who I have had some friends do, and of course you have to video and submit the video, and they have said to me, well, I literally I videoed myself like 15 times before I
yeah.
got it right because I didn't want to submit. And I'm like, well, what's the freaking purpose of
What's the
that? Like,
point?
right?
Right.
But
Exactly.
they said, like, they were like, well, it was really hard, like, because we're so bad at what they wanted us to do in the homework. I'm having a hard time, and I don't want to put that out there. So and these are experienced people who are doing that. So
I Well, I think people have to understand that. So I know I can speak for myself, and I know other instructors are the same way. Like, I don't judge. Like, when I look at homework, I'm just like a computer. Like, I'm just looking at the
processing
picture,
it. Yep.
processing the information, doing the feedback, and that's it. I'm not like judging the person, I'm not judging their skill level, I'm not
Right.
judging where they are in comparison to anybody else. Like, I literally am only like looking at the data. Right.
Right, and you're looking at the data in the context of how can I help this person,
Right.
right? I'm gathering the information. So it's, you know, I take it as like my goal, what I really want is to see this person succeed in whatever capacity that they're asking me to help them with. Like that at the end of the day is, you know, without judgment. I just
Right.
want to see you do better or help you become better at whatever you're looking to get help with, you
Right.
know?
And that's what a good instructor should be, right? It should be about helping like, I just like how I like helping people.
Yeah.
Plain and simple. I just like helping people. And I mean, I've literally had students in competition classes that are like, well, or they'll email me, I'd like to take the class, but I don't really think I'm ever going to compete. I'm like, go ahead and take the class. I
Yeah.
don't care. I've had students that have no intention of competing, but they just want a better relationship with their dog. Perfectly fine by me. And I watch them improve, and it makes me super happy. I
Yeah.
watch beginners improve, makes me super happy. I watch advanced people improve, makes me super happy. I watch people, start to problem solve on their own. Like you said, nothing makes me happier than that.
Mm-hmm. Me
Right? Like
too.
I always joke, I'm like, see, you don't even need me anymore. Which is, yeah, and I encourage that. Like I will say in a lot of my classes, when you submit your homework, I have a thing called What Would Petra Say?
Yep.
So I want you to guess. Just guess. I don't care. It could be totally wrong. Who cares? Start thinking in terms of solving the problem on your own. I don't want to be like a person where you have to come to me for everything. It's impossible for you to do it on your own. Like, no, my job is to teach you to read your dog, teach you to be a problem solver, teach you so that you can train your dog on
Mm-hmm.
your own when I'm not there.
Right.
Because I'm not there most of the time.
Right. And, that I mean, at the end of the day, like we had mentioned, we all have our training philosophy and we all have methods of what we feel has worked for the majority. But at the end of the day, like a good coach needs to really be flexible in terms of a lot of, there's a lot of variables involved when somebody comes to you for help. Like it's not just this is how we train this is how we do it. Here's the steps, boom, boom, boom.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot involved. The handler themselves, just that, like mobility issues of your handler, how your handler learns. I've had students who I've like tried to explain a method and they just can't wrap their head around it.
Mm-hmm.
And I've had to really be like, all right, how do I explain this to them or show this to them so then they go, oh, okay.
Right.
Like I just feel that's a really important trait in your coach, that they are going to be able to look at everything in front of them, your dog, the breed of the dog, the genetics, the past history of training that you have put on the dog. All these things matter. And that your coach is able to then be flexible enough to come up with um different options, to help you achieve these goals in that manner.
Yeah, and you should I think a lot of times as coaches too, it's an ego thing, and I don't mean ego like they're conceited, like insecurity on their part as well, right? Because
Mhm.
it's like, well, if you do this method that you learned online or at a seminar or something else, and that works and mine didn't, well, does that mean I'm not a good trainer anymore? And I just feel like it shouldn't. I want to learn. So I remember years and years ago when I was actually doing in person lessons, and somebody came in for their lesson and looked at me and said, "You're going to be really mad at me." And I'm like, really? Because it's kind of, I don't get mad very often. So I can't even imagine what happened. And I'm
Right.
like, okay, why? And she's like, well, like months and months and months ago, before we started coming to you, we signed up for this seminar. I'm like, yeah, like I had no idea where this whole thing was going. So she thought I was going to be upset because she was going to a seminar. I'm like, are you kidding me? Like,
Mm.
no, I want you to go and I want you to come back and tell me all the things you learned,
Right.
right? Like, that's what I want. Like, I want you to come back and give me your notes. Like, I want to
Yeah.
know what this person has to say that's helpful. And I think I'm like that, and I have to really credit this again. I've mentioned him before, I'm pretty sure. My first sport I did was field training. I was super lucky to have this field instructor, and he was meticulous and he was phenomenal. And he said to me, "You need to go to seminars." And I was like, "Why? You're teaching me everything. Like, why would I go somewhere else?" He's like, "Because it's important."
Mhm.
And then I would go, and when I came back, the first thing he would say to me is, "What did you learn?" And he wanted me to go train with other people. I was like, "I don't want to train with other people. You're like an amazing trainer. Why would?" He goes, "I want you to train with other people." fine. I'd go with another training group, come back, he'd go, what did you learn?
Mm-hmm.
Right. So he told me read things. That this was before like the internet was big. Just goes to show how old I am. But so I read like tons of books, everything I could get my hands on. That's what he taught me to, just continue learning. And that's how he was. He was always learning, always changing his methods, always trying to improve on what he was doing.
Yep.
Right. And I've changed things, like I've changed footwork, I've changed things just because the way I was doing it was hard to teach students. So I'd be like, there has to be an easier way
Mm-hmm.
so that I'm doing this so that it's easier for the students. So I changed my footwork, I changed my halts, my turns, everything, because and it actually ended up helping me and my dogs. But the driving force behind it was I was like, there's got to be an easier way to teach to do it so that it's easier to teach to
Your
students.
students, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, which is so important, because there's so much information out there. There's so many seminars now. There's so many things that you can go to. And that's like across, like, that's other sports.
Hmm.
Like, I went and took some lessons from a Mondio ring person. I learned so much from her, like, just little things. I'm always looking for new ideas, things that like I didn't think of. Oh my gosh, that's brilliant. Like, I can totally put that into X, Y, and Z in my training. Like, so many options out there. I think a good coach, good trainer is always looking to expand their own toolbox for them so that they can benefit their students for sure. And I've like the other thing is I am absolutely fine with people going to seminars, to other instructors, to go do a group class. I just think having those experiences of other people, like, you're going to I always tell them, even if you didn't like it, maybe you came away with one little thing that you were like, oh my God, that was worth its weight in gold just for that
Hmm.
little thing, like, to walk away with. And there are times like this, I also think this is super important for a coach, like, to recognize when you really don't have another answer for them. Like, I've had that too,
Hmm.
where I had a student, it came down to it was really a behavioral problem on the dog's part. And I could have sat there and like tried all of these things, but in my gut, again, I knew this was something out of my scheme. Like, I didn't have an appropriate answer for her, and I didn't want to waste her time, and it was something that needed to be addressed. And
Hmm.
I said, you need to go to this person. Like, you need to go to this person and find, because I cannot provide you with the help that you need. Like, I think that's a super important thing, because there are people out there that are coaches and instructors, etc., who are like, well, it's exclusive. If you're with me, that's it.
Yeah.
And I have an issue with that. Like, I just feel like there's
No, that it should never be that. That's
no.
just insecurity and ego getting in the way
Agree.
of being a good instructor. And like back to what you're saying, other sports, like in competition obedience, back chaining was not a thing. I remember
Yeah.
the first time I heard about back chaining, I think must have been someone explained it. I'm sure it was probably a podcast or a webinar I was listening to. And I was like, so they explained the concept, how it works, how the dog's getting reinforced every time as it gets close. And I was like, oh, that sounds really cool. But like, I couldn't wrap my brain around how to do it.
Mm-hmm.
So I contacted a freestyle person, a freestyle instructor, and I was like, "Hey, can I pay you to just give me like a consult so you can like explain it to me so I can wrap my brain around how to do it and how to apply it?" And she did. And it's like an amazing tool that I've used, like, and it works incredibly well. And I teach it now, and that's from a freestyle person.
Right.
A behaviorist taught me, I mean, everyone should somehow take um any courses, anything they can from a good behaviorist. I learned how to read dogs from a
Yep.
behaviorist. I learned all about arousal and how to manage arousal because, again, that was not addressed in my sport. How to manage arousal from a behaviorist, like all the pressure tools, like games and whatever I came with, all stemmed from everything I learned from a behaviorist. So much information that I got from them. I mean, my dogs' lives were greatly enhanced from what I learned from behaviorists. It just as pet dogs, and then it was a total game changer for my sport. And and I teach on it ad nauseum, and it all came from a behaviorist. And to be quite honest, when I first got involved with this behaviorist, it was for a dog that was not wired right. But and so that made sense to me. But when she was like, oh, well, let's look at it with your other dogs, I was like, why? My other dog's perfectly fine. There's nothing wrong with him. And she was like, yeah, but you have him to arouse. I was like, say what? And
Yeah.
so I didn't even think I needed that information. That's
Right.
kind of my point. And had I not listened to her and just been like, yeah, no, 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 that's ridiculous.
Yep.
I don't need it. The sheer amount of information I would have missed out on is kind of staggering. Like, I
Yeah.
would not have accomplished half of what I have. I would not have been able to teach half of what I have, more than half. Like, it's crazy. So, it's just a really strong example of, like, you should never close your mind
No way.
to any trainer in any discipline in any sport, because good training is good training.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, and we've got some really, really cool sports out there. Everything from agility to freestyle to all the nose work stuff and the detection stuff,
Hmm.
all the ring sports. I went to a seminar with a guy who did, I mean, he was PSA, which was just the protection sports stuff. And he did a seminar just on toy play, like huge stuff. Like all that stuff to me is, I don't care what you do, like what sport you're in. Like if you've got some stuff to offer me that I can put into my own, like to make me a better handler and trainer and to help my students, I'm in. Like I love that stuff. I find it fascinating. It always makes me want to go do that sport.
Same. I know.
I wish I had more time. And I'm
Same.
like, I just find it like incredible. And I see videos on Facebook of people doing field work and all that. And I'm just like, gosh, I would love to do that. It's just that all that's just so fascinating. That's like you said, it's just training dogs. Like it's just all that stuff just it's incredible, and you can definitely apply it to your own training and handling of your dogs for sure.
Yeah, and then I think that's super important. And then I think people limit themselves too, because they'll say like, well, I don't know how I'm going to apply that to my sport. Well, you have to be a little creative, and maybe you need to get help from someone, or maybe you can even talk to that instructor or presenter, and they can help
Yep.
figure out how to take it and apply it to your sport. Because I've had that. Like I remember I was listening to an agility podcast one time, and they were talking about how they handle errors, and they gave agility examples. So, but I really liked it because, like, Zeal struggled with when he made mistakes, he'd just have a nervous breakdown. And I'm like, okay, like what they said made sense, but I was like, all right, now how am I going to apply that to obedience, because it doesn't work the same. I can't release him to like continue the course, like it's not the same concept. So like I molded over and I talked to my training partner about it, and we just like tossed ideas around, and then all of a sudden we came up with an idea, and we tried it and it worked amazing.
Yep. Yeah.
So you just have to be willing to like be creative, take don't say, well, okay, but that's agility. And yeah, well, I can't do that exact thing. So never mind, I can't use that.
Right.
Well, yeah, you may be able to use it. You may just have to be creative, and you might have to sit down with some people that are willing to brainstorm.
Yep.
Or, like, I could have potentially probably contacted these presenters and said, hey, can I pay you for a lesson? Can you help me? How would you help me apply this? Because the freestyle person did. I said, well, if I wanted to use this for this exercise, they're like, okay, this is how I would do it.
Yeah, they can help
You
you.
know, so they can help you with that.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah,
I
and
think
there's
that
there
stuff is fun.
oh, me too. Me too. And I also like the best parts are like that, like when there's some latency in there and like months down the road and you're having an issue and you're like, wait,
Yeah.
wait. Like those are the best, those little golden nuggets. And you're like, wait, remember when blah 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 blah? I think I can use that here. And the brainstorming stuff, like it's just that's why we
And
love it. We're addicted to it.
sometimes it's just they hear the exact same thing you've been telling them for 6 months,
Hmm.
and all of a sudden they come back and they're like, you know what? They said blah blah blah, and that's what I need to do. And I'm like, I'm not gonna say a word.
Yeah.
Like,
Right.
if that's what you needed to get it through your head, you just needed to hear somebody say it a different way.
Yes.
I'm not going to sit here and go, well, I've been telling you that for 6 months. I'm like, thank God. I'm like, yes. Okay,
Yeah.
now you've got it. Because
Yeah.
sometimes someone just says it in a different way
Yep,
or in a
it
different
clicks.
context.
Yep. Yep. Right. Well, that's a thing. I mean, that's like to me, I always say like it depends on how you learn. Like I have these like arguments with my husband about it. Like he'll start just rambling off like these instructions. I'm like, wait, 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 wait. Like I don't know, I don't really understand it. And he says it three different ways, and I'm still like, I still don't get it. And I'm like, I am dumb. But then like I'm like, all right, if I write it down a certain way as you're explaining it to me, now I get it. Like that is a thing. Like, and sometimes it does. Like, if it takes 6 months until the right person says it, so be it. As long as that's what it took it. Yeah. Yeah. Click. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Right. Right. Yeah. Definitely. Because it is a lot of information, and like if you go take a lesson or a class in that hour, like so much is going on. Oh, I'm only hold on. We need to stop. Can you hear me? Uh oh.
Yeah, something
Oh,
happened. It said it kicked us out.
it did. But it's still,
So,
the clock's still
but the
running at the
clock's still
top.
running. So hopefully it was just a blip.
Okay. I don't know what happened. Okay, so what do we
I
do?
feel like it fell behind because it's like saying uploading, 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 uploading 78, 81. I don't know. Should we stop it and see if it recorded everything? And if it did, we'll just start up again?
Yeah,
Or just because if we continue and it dropped some of it, I doubt it dropped it. It hasn't in the past, right?
I doubt it.
Yeah. All right. So we'll just keep going.
Okay.
Except I don't know what we were saying.
Me neither. Shit.
um,
Was I talking? I think I was talking.
you were saying
No,
about the
you were talking.
learning.
Oh God.
All right. Well, I know what I wanted to say
Okay.
because I that's why I looked. I've been glancing and I looked and I'm like, shit. It's saying it just kicked me out because I know what I was about to say. So I'm just gonna like not say anything for a count of two, and then I'm just gonna say it.
Start up. Okay.
Yeah. One thing that is important. So I do believe like we should take in all this information, but the one thing that people do that's not beneficial is every time you hear something, you should not throw the baby out with the bathwater. So, in other words, if I'm looking for some help with healing and I maybe take a class or a workshop or a webinar or whatever, I don't necessarily need to retrain healing from the ground up. Because if you do that constantly, then potentially you're going to confuse your dog.
Definitely.
So I'm looking for information. So obviously, if I realize that my healing training's been a disaster, then yes, maybe I need to scrap it and start over. But if I'm just having kind of a problem with healing, or there's a hole there, maybe I can pull ideas from another method, but I'm not going to start completely over because my dog will just be very confused, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or I'm not going to try to teach my dog go outs 8 different ways, right? I may tweak what I'm doing. I may throw something in there. Like, for example, I tend to teach my dogs to run to food. It's never been a problem. I taught Zesty to run to food. Big problem. He's like food obsessed.
He's a
And
foodie.
so it was, what's that?
He's a foodie.
Oh, he is a foodie. So, and clearly he's starving to the nth degree. So it was creating a problem. So I was like, all right, I need to do something different. I need to teach him a behavior that he can do out there, and then I'll go reinforce that behavior. Right.
Mm-hmm.
So then I was like, okay, the school I was going to, they teach like put your paw on the stanchion behavior. Well, two broken standalone stanchions and gates scattered all over the place. Later, I realized that was not going to work well because he was just destroying. Because he's like, look, I'm putting my arm on it. And then the more I was like, okay, wait, the more he's like, no, I'll do it more. And I was like, oh God. So that was a complete disaster. So then I'm like, okay, what other things are other people doing? Oh, look, some people do a sustained nose touch. That looks like that might actually work, right? So, am I retraining his entire go out from the ground up? No, I'm just retraining that piece, right? So I'm
Mm-hmm.
pulling that piece out. I'm retraining that piece. I got the idea from other trainers, and and that looks like it's going to work out when it's all finished and done with.
Yeah, and I think that's super valuable. Like that's the benefit of getting information from other sources, webinars, workshops, going to have lessons or privates with another trainer is being able to maybe pull some pieces, different perspectives to tweak some of the already built-in foundation. What can be difficult, which we see, is when people are going to multiple people and literally throwing the bathwater out with the baby and doing things 5 different ways. Retraining
Right.
things 5 different ways. Like, this is a thing I see. I know you do too, like with some
Mm-hmm.
people. And then what happens is the dogs are confused. Like, and then they come to somebody, they're like, well, I need help with my healing. Well, how did you train it? Well, they can't even remember how they trained it because they did so many different methods. And now the dog is so freaking confused. It's hard for somebody to help them and when that goes on. So you need to be really careful. It's like having sometimes having all of those resources out there can be a little detrimental if you're not careful, because it's like the grass is always greener thing.
Well,
Well, my dog doesn't heal great, so I'm going to do this whole other method. Well, that method didn't go so well either. Oh, this person has a great healing method that they teach. I'm going to do that method now. And that's where it can get a little,
well,
watch out.
and then it becomes like kind of a cycle because it doesn't work, then you're frustrated and unhappy, then that makes you want another method even more, and
Yeah.
then you try that and then that doesn't work, and then you're like, oh, it must. Meanwhile, it's like, no, maybe your method, the first or second, was perfectly fine. You just needed to tweak some pieces, right?
Right.
You not just needed to maybe add a little something or subtract a little something, or maybe it just needed a little more time. Like, I
Mm-hmm.
would never, like, if a student, and I have people ask me this, they're like, should I start over with teaching? My answer 100% time is no.
Right.
No, 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 no. Do not start the whole thing over. Don't switch to what you to or whatever. No, let's just take what you've done and let's just make it better, right? Let's
Right.
just tweak it. Let's look at the pieces that aren't strong. Let's make those pieces better. But we are not going to take this poor animal and start the whole thing from the ground up. Like, there's no need for that.
Right. But
It's
I think
just,
there's like, I think that can be a little bit of a pitfall people get into, excuse me, because it also goes back to, I think, oh, well, her dog, look at her dog heal.
mm,
She went and did that program. She went to that, you know, that person or whatever. And now look at her dog. I want that. And I think that you can fall into that trap a little bit. So you just need to be
yeah,
careful with that for sure.
for sure. And you have to be, you have to account, like, it's so hard because, look, I'm just like everybody else. Like, social media can. Somebody I once knew used to say, social media is the devil. I was like, what are you, 90 years old? Like, get over it. Like, it's not the devil.
Devil.
But it can be very misleading, right?
Yeah.
Because people only ever post their dog winning, their dog looking beautiful, their dog doing perfect healing, their dog doing perfect everything. And then people believe what they see, right? And
Right.
it's like, come on, that's not reality. Deep down, we all know that, right? So we have to stop looking at that and comparing ourselves and falling short, right? Like, I'm the same. I will look at things, or I'll doubt myself all the time. If something's not going well, I'm struggling, dog's not working the way I want, behavior's not turning out the way I want. Like, everybody struggles. And sure, I doubt myself at times, but a fair amount of the time actually. But I'll always come back to, saying, okay, like, um let's be objective. Like, is your dog fully trained in healing? No, so of course their healing's not going to look like that person's healing, right?
Right.
Is my dog the same as that? No, of course not. Are you as experienced as that person you're comparing yourself to? Because if not, well, maybe it's just going to take you a little longer to get your dog to that
Right.
point.
Right.
um Comparison is a thief of joy. Like, comparison is never going to go well. You have to, at the end of the day, like we mentioned at the beginning, trust your gut, have a little faith in yourself, and believe in your own journey. Like,
True.
believe that your dog is on an individual path. Like I have dogs that like that mature late,
Yeah.
and if I were going at, like, it boggles my mind when a dog is 2 years old and it's already out there in open and utility. I'm like, my dogs tend to be somewhat precocious. They're highly motivated. I'm like a halfway decent trainer. I start training them at 7 weeks old when I get them. My dogs at 2 are not even remotely, they're not even remotely close to ready for novice.
Right.
So, so I'll be sitting there going like, am I a terrible trainer? Like, what is wrong with me that like my dogs aren't even close? And then I'm just like, you know what? It doesn't really matter.
It
Like,
doesn't.
I'm training my dog according to a method that feels good for me, that makes me happy, that
Yep. And you believe
morally,
in.
ethically, I believe in it. I'm building my relationship in a way that works for me, and maybe it takes longer than other people. So be it. You know, um it is what it is. And so that's what I always have to come back to, right? And that's what students should always come back to. They should say like, is this working for me? Right? Like, am I happy with my dog? Like, everybody gets frustrated, but is this journey working for me? Is this coach working for me? If it
Mm-hmm.
is, great, right? If
Mm-hmm.
not, step outside the box. Like, it's okay. It's not world peace. Like, not, nothing, your life's not going to be turned upside down. The world's not going to come to an end. But do something that feels good. Because really, at the end of the day, like, this is supposed to be fun.
Right. It is supposed to be fun.
And it's
It
supposed to
is.
be enjoyable, and it's supposed to, like, I remember when I was field training and it had gotten to the point where like it's a vicious, brutal environment. The training's very brutal. The people, it's cutthroat.
Yeah.
And I remember waking up one day and going, okay, I'm taking my free time, the time when I'm not working, and this is what I'm doing. And when I'm doing it, I'm miserable. Why am I doing this?
Right.
And that
Yeah.
was the day I called up the guy that was mentoring me. This was somebody else later down the road, and I was like, dude, I can't anymore. I can't.
Yeah.
And he's like, you know what? I totally get it. I totally respect it. You do you. Like, you ever want to come back to the sport, you call me, open door, you're always welcome back. Because he
Yeah.
was a really good guy. I'm like, but I was like, I'm not doing this anymore, because it wasn't bringing me joy. Like, it wasn't fun. And so, like, when I'm training, I want to be with people that I enjoy being with. I want to get help from people that are like minded, that understand my training, my philosophy. They understand what I will and won't do. And
Mm-hmm.
those are the people that I will go to for help. And I go to people for help to this day all the time. I have no pride or ego. Like, if I need help, I will ask people for help. I don't care. Um, and the people that help me understand, are helpful because they give me advice that's in line with what I'm comfortable with doing, and like you said, what I believe in.
Right.
And I think that's what people should be comfortable doing, and they shouldn't feel worried or afraid or uncomfortable or,
Yeah. Yeah. And you shouldn't ever be worried that you're going to do something and your coach is going to get mad at you. I've heard that a lot. Oh, no, 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 no. I can't do that. Oh, no, no, no. My instructor will be so mad. Like,
yeah, well, that's
yeah.
not good.
That's not good, period.
That's not
But it
good.
is like, so my point is like what you're saying, like, you, whoever you're getting advice and help from, whether it's 1, 3, 5, 7 people you go and get help from, it should align with your training philosophy and your methods. You should be comfortable with it. You should be comfortable communicating with them on how you feel about things that they tell you. Like, these are all important things. And you should be able to, at any point where you don't feel that those things are aligning correctly, you need to walk away and find an alternative. Like, there's so many out there. I've had to do that, where it came to a point where I was at a, you're going to hit roadblocks, or
Mhm.
you outgrow people. Like, that's
Mhm.
going to be part of it. And like you said, if you do find somebody who happens to be that like unicorn trainer where that just fits for a long, long time, gosh, you are lucky. Absolutely. But I think most people have gone to some people and they just didn't work out, or et cetera, et cetera. And it's okay to do that, to go find the people that go find your people.
Yeah, and some people are even uncomfortable, not uncomfortable. They'll do the right thing, but they're very self-conscious about doing something different. And so for example, I think it was someone went to a rally run through, and in rally run throughs, it's very common that sport, they just do the course every time. That's what they do. And she was going to, I think she wanted to use her time to work on pressure, or do ring entrances, something along those lines. And that took a lot of courage for her, because she felt self-conscious, because she's
Mm-hmm.
doing something completely different, right?
Right.
Than everybody else. Like, everybody else is doing the course and she's doing this other thing. And but I was really proud of her, because even though she was uncomfortable, she did it anyway. And I always say to them, you know what? It's really, you being uncomfortable is perfect. It's great practice for trial day, because
Yeah.
you're going to be uncomfortable on trial day.
Yes.
So you may as well be uncomfortable doing other things, right? And I get that that's hard, but again, like, you have to do what's best for your dog. And
Mm-hmm.
for her dog, it was not the best use of her time to do the course. It was better use of her time to do whatever skill
Yep.
she was working on.
Yep.
And
Despite other opinions, like, you just
yes,
need to, yep, forge
yeah.
through.
And I think that, I get it, like, as humans, again, like, I guess I'm fortunate. I have a little bit of that, like, rebel loner gene in me. So that
Same.
does give me a bit of an advantage. But yeah, like, it breaks my heart when people don't do things, or are afraid to do things, or doing things they don't want to do, just because they're afraid of, like, the quote unquote social ramifications. And
Yeah.
I feel like, think of it the opposite way. Think of it as you're setting an example. Maybe someone else really wants to do what you're doing, and they're afraid, and maybe if they see you doing it, maybe they'll think about doing it. Maybe not that day, but maybe eventually at some point, right?
Right. They can find the courage. Yeah.
Yeah. And even if not, it always comes down to A, doing what's best for your dog, B, doing what's best for your relationship with your dog, and C, doing what you're going to be feel good about at night. At the end of the day, when you go to bed at night, did you feel good about the choices you made, right?
Right.
And
Right.
if so, then you're on the right path. And if not, then, you know, maybe you want to think about veering off that path just a little bit. And, humans are wired to always think the worst, right?
They
So
are.
if I leave this job, you think about, to get another job, you think about all the things that could go wrong and how it could be worse for you.
Yep.
Or if you're in a bad relationship and you're struggling to leave, it's like, well, the next relationship might be even worse, or maybe I'll find no one. Not at no time we don't intuitively go, well, if I leave this job, I could get a job and it's going to be 100 times better. It's going to be better in every way. Or if I leave this relationship, I'm going to meet somebody and it's going to be 1,000 times better. That's not how we think.
Right. It's so true. It's so true.
And why? Because those are all just as much as there, it's just as much a possibility for things to go wrong. There are equal number of possibilities where things could go right and be
Yep.
better.
Yep.
So and to me, every time in my life I've made a difficult or a absolutely terrifying choice or decision, it's always ended up being better.
Yep.
Always.
Right.
And I remind myself of that all the time now. When I'm in front of a difficult decision, and I start going down that negative rabbit hole, I'm like, you know what? Every time it's worked out. It's always worked out for the better. So you know
Yeah.
what?
Take the
Do
leap.
it. Take
Yep.
the leap. And you know what? If it doesn't work out, you could always go back. Or who knows, maybe there's a third option that's even better, right?
Right.
Yeah. So if people just think like that, I think it would be very helpful.
I do too. 100% agree. Definitely.
All right.
So yeah, I think we summed up some good talk about coaches and what makes a great coach and what being a coach and all that. So
Yeah, and
hopefully
what
that
to
was
look
helpful.
for. Yeah. All right,
Okay, good.
everybody. Thanks
Thank
for tuning into another episode. We appreciate all of you and happy training.
thank
Bye.
you. Bye.